Hey, what's up, guys? This is Elo Speaks back again with another video, and in this video, I'll be talking about Chapter 3 in the LeBron James Fanbase's Toxic series, Chapter 3, titled LebFanboys. Now, in this chapter, I will talk about LeBron James fanboys in the mass NBA community and how they contribute to the toxicity of being an obsessed fanboy. When it comes to LeBron James as a polarizing sports figure, he is the biggest star player in the NBA and one of the biggest star athletes in sports overall. From all the sports genres to young kids, teenagers, grown adults to elderly people, most people know who LeBron James is and what he do as a professional athlete. Now, with this high level of fame and notoriety comes a large fan base for that particular athlete and as it regards to LeBron James. He is one of the biggest fan base outside of sports media. The fanboy media especially fawn over him on TV. When it comes to having this large fan base comes a lot of toxic fanboys that sings his praises, damn near worshiping him the ground that he walks on. When he does something great, or defend him when he makes excuses for him when he fails short of his goal, which is to win multiple accolades such as MVPs, first team All-NBA on offense and defense, NBA All-Star appearances, NBA titles, NBA Finals MVPs, etc. Now, don't get me wrong, LeBron James is a very accomplished NBA player. He's done a lot for the sport of basketball. I take nothing away from him and what he did throughout his long, legendary NBA career. He's had a legendary career and has accomplished what most NBA players who play the game will probably never accomplish in their careers. So I could understand some degree why he has such a large fan base. When you go on LeBron James' social media pages and platforms, he has a huge following. His Instagram has 154 million followers and counting. His Twitter, he has 52.8 million followers on Twitter and counting. And he has 27 million followers on Facebook and counting. Having that amount of followers all over the world is massive. Only international soccer players arguably have a bigger fan base with a lot more followers than LeBron James. Now, the issue I have with LeBron James' large fan base is the toxic fandom and how toxic they are whenever you disagree on how they see LeBron James. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that's a fan of LeBron James is toxic, but to give a good assessment, it's a lot of them that are toxic. When we're talking to LeBron James fanboys on the ground or on social media such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, you are arguing about NBA topics regarding LeBron James. Best to believe his fanboys will come in full force to defend their king to the death. It can be about who's the best player in the league right now or who's the greatest NBA player of all time. If anyone has a slight disagreement or difference of opinion, the LeBron James fanboys will be on attack mode trying to argue you down, and it gets toxic real fast from that point on. Again, I want to reiterate that when his fanboys are on social media, they want to talk up LeBron James' accolades to high heavens to everyone can hear. But when it comes to his failures, they get angry. When you bring up, they proceed to make excuses for LeBron James and why he didn't succeed in winning. The excuses were span all over the place to he didn't have enough help on his team to win. He was carrying a team full of bums. He had never had a great head coach. He was dealing with an injury. He was facing super teams in the finals all the time. No one else will be able to beat those super teams in the finals, and so on and so on. The use of those excuses ad nauseum every time like clockwork. Whenever LeBron James fails in winning a title, to make a pathetic case in saying that he is better than Michael Jordan, the toxic fanboys at large will do this so much that people who are fans of the sport are sick and tired of the excuses being made for LeBron James constantly. Because the fanboys and the sports media fanboys will be hyping up LeBron James People who are devoted NBA fans who watched the game for a long time don't want to hear the excuses made for LeBron James, especially if he's the best player in the world, regardless of the circumstances of how his fanboys operate and speak on how LeBron James can conquer any team and win a title. But ultimately, he doesn't throughout his career. He's gone to 10 NBA finals, won 3 legitimate NBA titles, and won an asterisk bubble championship in 2020 during a whole COVID-19 pandemic. LeBron James has a record of 4-6 in the NBA Finals, winning 2 with Miami Heat and winning 1 with Cleveland Cavaliers and winning an asterisk bubble championship with the Los Angeles Lakers. On the other hand, he also has 6 NBA losses in four times as a Cavalier and twice as a Miami Heat. Side note, this is my personal opinion as it regards to the 2019-2020 NBA season. The bubble championship that the Lakers won in 2020 is an asterisk championship, if there ever was one. Now, I know people are going to disagree with this take, and that's fine, but I always look at that championship as an asterisk title that he won because of the circumstance of how he won it. Now, of course, toxic LeBron James fanboys, whether it's his fans on the ground or fans on sports media, will continue to paint a false narrative saying that the bubble year was quote-unquote the hardest title to win because of all the irrational, illogical talking points that they are going to bring, because deep down they know that that title is fake and they were desperate for LeBron James to win another title. So that way he can make a reasonable case that he be better than Michael Jordan in the eyes of the NBA community at large. Now, the reason for the 2019-2020 NBA season has an asterisk is all the complications that were involved during the COVID-19 pandemic. For instance, COVID-19 pandemic just happened, shutting down the whole world, putting it to a full stop. The NBA was no different. While shutting it put a stop to the whole season, the whole league during the season around February of 2020. The next issue was trying to figure out when the league was going to return after so many months off of no basketball play. The next issue was the location of the NBA season, which was in Orlando, Florida, in Disney World. All the teams that were involved in the bubble in Orlando had to quarantine and isolated from the world and had to constant COVID-19 tests to make sure none of the players were infected with the virus. Otherwise, they will not be able to participate in any basketball activities and will have to leave the bubble and quarantine for 14 days. The next issue was the team that the Lakers played in the bubble, which was the a fifth seed weak Miami Heat team that had 2 injured starters, and then after that they were starting 5. 2 players were Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic being hurt during the series, which caused the Miami Heat to play 3 rookies, giving them high minutes in the NBA Finals, making it easy for the Lakers to win the bubble title that year, which deserves a huge asterisk. Now, I want to state that just because the Lakers won, I'm not saying it's an asterisk championship. It's an asterisk because of all the shenanigans involved leading up to having that bubble finals overall. If any other NBA team were to have won the NBA finals that year, it still would have been an asterisk title regardless of how people feel about it. That's the reason why the Los Angeles Lakers bubble title has a huge asterisk next to it, that title. LeBron James' record in the finals will always be 3-6-1, having won 3 legitimate NBA titles and having 6 NBA losses and winning 1 asterisk bubble championship in Orlando, Florida at Disney World, which so you know how much of a joke that title was regardless of who won it. But because LeBron James and the Lakers won the title, toxic LeBron James fanboys will use that title to make a pathetic case for being the greatest player of all time in the NBA against Michael Jordan, which he is not. When it comes to LeBron James' record in the NBA Finals, the ridiculous loud talking points that LeBron James fanboys hate when brought up in the GOAT debate is his losing NBA Finals record being 4 and 6, especially when it's an NBA fan having debates about who's the GOAT, LeBron James or Michael Jordan, and who ranks either number 1, 2, or possibly 3. Now, those debates starts to happen and LeBron James fanboys starts to lose the argument in the debate. They tend to resort to angry, irrational talking, absurd points such as ad hominem, name calling NBA fans who critique LeBron James as haters, bringing down former players to prop up LeBron James to make him seem greater than what he is. Talk about statistics that benefit LeBron James and disregard and ignore the statistics that make LeBron James look bad. Talk about injuries LeBron James sustained, mention the teams that LeBron James carried while ignoring all the Hall of Fame players that LeBron James had on his team that he played with throughout his NBA career. It goes back and forth until they get to a point that they'll just start trolling anyone that disagrees with them to no end. Regardless, by the end of the day, the fanboys could talk trash all they want and try their best to prop up LeBron James to be this mythical, godlike figure to everyone, but LeBron James has to go out on the basketball court and prove to the world and everyone watching that he is the greatest of all time. Ultimately, he either falls short of his goals, like winning an NBA title and trying to continue chasing the quote-unquote ghost in Chicago, and then his fanboys proceed to make ridiculous excuses for him and still call him the GOAT in their feeble minds whether LeBron James wins or loses, which shows you how irrational and illogical they are when it comes to LeBron James' shortcomings as an NBA player and how he measured up to LeBron James. Michael Jordan, my apologies. Side note, when it comes to NBA GOAT conversation or the NBA top 5 greatest player of all time, I don't take thought into it as much as most people used to though. I learned to understand that everyone has their own opinions on the matter, so I don't argue with people much anymore as regards to why they have certain players in a top 5 or top 10. As regards to who I believe is the greatest player of all time is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. When it comes to why I have Michael Jordan as the GOAT, it's self-explanatory. I'm not going to get into much detail for that. You could go on NBA reference and look up Michael Jordan's accolades and accomplishments to see for yourself why I have him as the greatest. And no one is going to change my mind for the foreseeable future. When it comes to LeBron James and where he ranks among the all-time greats, I have him as 6th greatest player of all time. As far as who I have in my top 5 is number 1, Michael Jordan, number 2, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, number 3, Bill Russell, number 4, Irvin Magic Johnson, and number 5, Tim Duncan, and 6 is LeBron James. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if you disagree with my rankings at all. Now, LeBron James can move up my ranking. Sure, he can, but the only way he could do that is by winning more NBA titles to make his case. Also, the only way he could become the greatest player of all time is by winning 7 NBA titles, which at this point is highly unlikely that he will accomplish that type of feat in his NBA career. Again, to reiterate my stance on the matter, LeBron James is a great NBA player, a top 10 player, but just not the greatest player ever in my eyes. And I've watched LeBron James for most of his career, and I've seen him succeed, but I've also seen all his failures through his career. Having someone who has meltdowns in the NBA Finals and has losing record in the NBA Finals will never be the greatest NBA player of all time. When it comes to LeBron James' toxic fanboys, get ready to either debate or get into a frustrating argument with them. When the topic of LeBron James comes up, because it's going to be an ugly verbal battle, they don't want you to criticize their king, and when it being shown that he is their false god, LeBron James, even in the one of the debate topics that LeBron NBA fans like to talk about which is the NBA top 10 greatest basketball players of all time. Most NBA fans has Michael Jordan as their number 1 on their list. Some people have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being the best player ever, at worst 2 or 3. But when it comes to LeBron James fanboys, they have him as the GOAT, even though he has a losing NBA record, losing NBA Finals record. Even though he won't have the most regular season MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, scoring titles, assist titles, rebound titles, etc. Now, granted, I'm not saying LeBron James is the bum or anything of the sort, because I know that recently he is the all-time NBA scoring leading scorer, top 10 in rebounding, top 10 assists, but still his toxic fanboys overrate his career, even when he accomplishes the smallest of things to make it to a big deal, just to prop him up, just to talk about how great he is, whether it's a stat line or breaking some meaningless record. I can't assume that people are sick and tired of LeBron James' storyline for over 20 years. We are in a different era of basketball now where we have other great talents in the NBA. They can't now they can be promoted, but they continue to stay on the LeBron James storyline narrative, which is the equivalent of squeezing every ounce of juice out of the orange until there is none left, which is not good for the league long term. Yes, LeBron James is still one of the biggest stars in the league to this very moment, and the league still profits off him. But when he is gone, it's going to be difficult for the league to transition from LeBron James because they are constantly covering him 24/7 every time instead of covering the other star players and giving them the shine that they deserve. You could argue that LeBron James fanboys in the NBA community are the worst part about the fandom outside the sports media networks and the alleged paid plants on the sports networks because of how pervasive and obnoxious they are to the rest of the NBA fans and who don't see LeBron James in the same light as they do, like a Christ-like figure, a quote-unquote Christ-like figure. They're gonna save them, especially when you go to Instagram, Twitter, and see multiple LeBron James fan pages constantly glorifying this dude to no end. Then you see comments on the fan page of people saying ridiculous rhetoric such as, "My glorious king," "He is my GOAT," "MJ could never," "All hail King James," and many more silly statements like this as if they think like LeBron James is a real king, which is very cringy and shows how heavily obsessed a factuation that they have for LeBron James overall. No, he is not a real king. He is a professional basketball player. That's it. Good at what he does, but that's about all. But if you try to explain that to LeBron James fanboys, they will call you a hater. So in the long run, it's a total waste of time to have a civil basketball conversation with an obsessed biased fanboy. I like to end it with this. There is no problem with NBA fans who think LeBron James is a GOAT. That's fine. It's just how toxic and obnoxious they are with the statement and getting angry with anyone who has a difference of opinion other than theirs. Even when you provide them with logical reasoning that defeats their arguments, and regardless of that, they'll defend and protect their glorious, fraudulent king, LeBron James. And that's what makes his fanboys toxic.